All right, guys, welcome to the Bone Maniac podcast. I'm your host, Ethan Kelderman.
And I'm the Maniac, and here, guys, we're going to bring you from field to audio our firsthand experiences, not only with our partners, but just everyday life that we're going to be doing out here hunting. Hey, guys, we're back, and the Maniac's here, and Robert Eccles, we have you live right now, and you are the owner of Aerotech Archery. Robert, great to have you on today.
Yeah, it's great to be here, Shane. Looking forward to it.
So,
what have you been out killing lately?
What now? What's that?
I said, what have you been out killing lately?
I don't know. I'm out of arrows, man.
I know a guy.
Well, let's see. Can I go ahead and put in my request right now?
Yeah, you might want to. No.
Heck yeah, man. Well, let's jump right into it. Aerotech, I've been using your product for the past 3 years now, and this is your 5th year. Is that right?
Well, officially we launched in 17, but really didn't kick it off till, April 5th of 17 is when we officially launched it, but it didn't really start to take off until 18. That first year is always kind of, hey, who's this? What's this? And, but 19 and 20 was, really good year for us. COVID didn't do us any favors, but, 21 is starting off, really well. So, it is what it is, and we're moving forward.
Oh, heck yeah. So, tell me a little bit about, why Aerotech? What brought on Aerotech, and a little bit of background of where do you come from, and, let everybody know about Aerotech.
Sure. As far as archery goes, I've been in this industry since I was 5. My mom and dad are both state national champions going back into the 70s, 80s, and 90s. So I've been kind of drugged from tournament to tournament my whole life competing. And I also, in the early 2000s, I owned a archery pro shop in the Sacramento region of California. And it was interesting watching all the different bow companies, and then when the new bow companies, say like Bowtech, kicked off, they introduced this cam system that was just like the next advancement in technology. Well, shooting arrows, we've went from wood to aluminum to carbon, and I've watched carbon change over the years, since the early to mid 80s, but there really hasn't been anything. There hasn't been a major technology shift in arrows in a long, long time. So we actually started this project back in 2006. And of course, everything, a lot of people remember in 2008 when everything crashed. And so we just kind of shelved it, and it just sat there, and we just waited and waited and waited. And then in 2016, I told my wife, I said, it's time to kick this off. So we did. And the technology that we're bringing to the forefront is, I believe, is the next advancement in aero technology. I know the big thing is, I've talked about this, Shane. I'll just go right into it. The spine lines in arrows. It's kind of the same concept of wrapping a burrito, right? You're going to have that one side that's got a little bit more tortilla on it than the other side. Well, in that process, you have to sand that down. You have to get it round like the rest of the arrow. But then what happens is you still have that heavy side to that arrow. So there's nothing wrong with it. It's a system that's worked for years and years. It can create inconsistencies. The sanding down, you create that heavy side, so you got that spine line. With our technology, with our proprietary technology, we don't have a spine line. So we don't have to worry about sanding that arrow down heavy on one side to get that arrow to be, perfectly round and true. So with that said, that allows our spines to be extremely consistent. Our spines are inside of 10 thousandths throughout that whole arrow, which is just unheard of. And the more and more guys that shoot, especially the tournament shooters, because it seems like they're the ones that are the real fanatics about their arrows. They're finding how easy our arrows are to shoot, how easy they are to tune, and the accuracy that they're they're getting with them. I mean, it's funny. I just got back from a tournament down in Foley, Alabama. And one of the guys down there, he's been shooting for a while, but he never really got out of that 12 to 15 spot for, in competing. And then when he changed his arrows, all of a sudden he started coming up the ranks pretty fast, and he actually podiumed with a 3rd place finish. And he almost didn't know what to do because he's never podiumed before. And I said, well, what's different? He goes, all I did was change my arrows. And I've had multiple guys tell me that same thing. All I've done was change my arrows. So, people spend a lot of money and buy these high-end bows, but the last thing they think about is their arrows. And so we've kind of trying to get them to change that mindset a little bit. And people are starting to figure it out now, but that's kind of where it's at. The technology, we've got some other technology involved in the arrow as well. We use a Magnus effect technology, which if anybody knows how a golf ball works. I've never played golf in my life, but I understand the concept behind a golf ball. The reason for the divots in that golf ball is the air, as the ball is flying through the air, it only catches the outer surface of that golf ball, right? So inside the divots, it creates this Magnus effect where it kind of just helps the ball along and allows it to fly further, farther, and faster. Well, we have that same principle, same concept built into our arrow, and then we're getting about 11% less air drag on the surface of our arrow than any of our competitors. So that's why you're having good luck with those heavier arrows, Shane, flying farther and maintaining that speed and elevation, is just because that 11% is a big deal. It's like NASCAR picking up 2% horsepower.
Oh yeah.
It's yeah. So that's kind of where we're at, and we're as far as the hunting side of it goes. I mean, our technology and stuff is right in our hunting arrows as well. So it's carrying right over, and it's allowing guys to really focus on that shot, and they don't have to think about whether or not they're gonna, or am I gonna have a problem with my arrows, or am I gonna have a problem here or a problem there? It becomes automatic. You know what I mean? 100%. I mean, you've seen what you've killed over the last couple of years with your speed freaks.
Well, yeah, absolutely, man. And, being a Western hunter, it's nothing to shoot at something, 100 yards, and you need that precision and the confidence, in the arrow, anything that you're doing, really, you need that confidence to be able to pull off those type of minute shots. And so what you're saying with your proprietary design is like there's virtually no spine, which every other arrow company out there has a spine. So you've eliminated that last step to get the spine to line, so to speak, as everyone always talks about with the rest of the arrow companies. You've eliminated that with your proprietary design, and it's made a truer arrow. That's what you're saying in a nutshell, right?
Yeah, it's made it more accurate. We didn't eliminate the spine. We eliminated the spine line, or the heavy side. So
right, I got you.
Still got the yeah. I just wanted people to go, hey, every arrow has a spine. You know how that goes.
Sure.
Yeah, it's just that's the part that a lot of the tournament shooters will knock tune their arrows to get them to, and you put them in a machine, you can shoot them, and you'll see what I'm talking about when you start playing with the nocks and turning the nocks, and it'll show you that heavy side. There was one of the other brands, really smart. I don't know if I should name them or not, but they were smart in the fact that they started on the outside of their arrows, they started putting spine line, right, and letting people know, hey, our spine is right here. And so that really kind of cut down on the time that people had to spend with arrows, right?
Right.
But now with our technology that we have, we don't have to worry about that. And the more shooters that are shooting our arrows are starting to realize, man, this is the real deal.
Well, 100%. And you can put the spine test on those arrows, and I mean, it's been numerous tests done, and people are just amazed on write down how precise your arrows really are.
When you don't see the needle move, that's pretty accurate.
I have yet to see the needle move on any of them. And there's a lot of testimonial out there with folks that's doing that, and we need to keep spreading the word on your design. As you've eliminated that, and there's not another company out there that gives that that golf ball effect. I know you said the term for it, but that's just my term.
The Magnus,
the
Magnus effect.
The Magnus effect. Yeah, the Magnus effect. Yeah.
It's just
same thing.
Hey man, I gotta talk. I gotta relate this stuff to myself so I understand. I don't play golf either.
Yeah, I've done the what do you call it, top golf, where you're trying to smack balls into those holes out there, those big areas. But that's my extent of golf. I've never been on a golf course. I've never played. So archery's my golf.
Yeah. Wow. It's pretty crazy on the technology that's out there and what you can achieve. And man, it sounds like I've been using it as well, your product, and I've been amazed that I'm completely out of the target side of things, but I can usually walk into any of the pro shops with my hunting setup, and with the target guys that are shooting their target setup. If I'm not out shooting them, I'm shooting just as good as with my hunting setup as what they do with their target setup, and they're going, shooting, Vegas dots, and I can't do that with other arrows. Well, I haven't been able to do those with other arrows, with my hunting rigs. I'm just, I'm not looking for an X on an animal. I'm looking for a spot, so,
it's the same thing. It really is.
Yeah.
You pick that spot on that animal versus you picking that spot on the target. It's no different.
Right.
Yes.
Well, exactly.
One just has a little bit more adrenaline to it.
Just a little bit.
Yeah,
just
paper. Yeah.
Just a little bit.
I don't have that with paper anymore.
I haven't shot a tournament. It's been a long time since I put the target bow down, but I was pretty heavy into it back in the day. But I mainly focus more on hunting now than I do target. But target is where you're going to get the approval of how good your arrows are, and that's we got a broad line of arrows. I mean, we've got a good hunting selection. We've got a good target selection. I mean, our hunting arrows, we have basically four categories in our hunting arrows. Of the AK series, it's just a standard diameter. We use a 243. A lot of the industry uses right around a 245. The 243 was our sweet spot in our development. And so that we call that our standard arrow. I mean, and then the AK series of that arrow, that's our kind of our heavy elk hunting arrow. Guys that are shooting a little bit bigger game, on a little bit more weight. We run that series. Then our PA series is and that's what you've been shooting here lately with your trad bow. And that's our all around hunting arrow for deer hunting, antelope, basically the mid-range game or mid-sized game. It comes in like 300 spine comes in like 9.5 grains per inch. And then the 400 spine, like I think it's 7.9. So, I mean, it's that range that, especially all the Midwestern, Eastern guys, they're looking for as much speed as they can get. And then then we get into the speed freaks, which is what I know you like to shoot with your compound, Shane. And that's our ultimate speed arrow. That's our number one 3D arrow. You kind of took that arrow and ran with it hunting wise. And I don't think it was originally developed for hunting, but more and more guys are grabbing that arrow because these bows, you can fine tune these bows now and just make them, I mean, absolute darts. And so these guys want as much speed as they can get because we all know the whitetail, how fast they are and how they jump the string so easily. So speed matters to everybody out there. And if a bow is tuned right and you got the right setup, I mean, that's just a deadly combination. You've proven that. I mean, what was your first year? You went out and what, 28 animals that year, the first year you shot our Speed Freaks? I mean, that blew me away when you called me and told me that.
Well, yeah, I mean, the furthest shot, on a Speed Goat was 115 yards, and it was 125 yards. What was it?
Didn't you blow all the way through it?
Yeah, it shot clear through it. But yeah, I mean, right at 412 grains, that's with the Speed Freak. So, I mean, and there again, it's like something you designed for target. Now we're on this subject is I love that arrow because I wanted to get there fast, and I'm not so much as worried about the heaviness to penetrate clear through it. Personally, I would rather that arrow stick in the animal. It's great.
A little more damage.
I mean, as long as I can, deflate those lungs, and that's usually what I go for. That's key right there. But having said that, it's like I wanted to get there fast, and I wanted to get there accurate, and I wanted to be able to hit where I'm aiming, and that's important for me, is having that type of preciseness. And the Speed Freak gives that. It gives that. I proved it to myself, and and whoever else is tagging along watching me do this crazy stuff. And it's all about that for me versus having a arrow that somebody says, well, you need 600 grains to kill an elk. No, I need 412. That's
you're blowing clean through elk as well.
Yeah. I mean, whatever I'm shooting, it's I'm getting the old dirt nap, But that's been a sweet spot, sweet arrow setup for me. And I know a lot of other folks have been using that arrow as well as working. Now on the trad bow side of things, I got that more inertia force, I guess. With the trad, I have been using those PAs, a little heavier arrow, and I'm right at 560, I believe, is what we talked about the other day. It's 562, I believe, is what it was with the setup, and I'm getting, great flight with that. I'm doing just as much damage with that arrow setup on the trad with an elk, with deer, hogs, whatever. It works really well for that. And you do need a little heavier arrow when you're shooting a trad bow,
sure.
To get that flex and whatnot. So it's been a beautiful relationship I've had with those arrows.
What are you using are you using feathers or for the trad bow?
Yeah. And I actually, since we're on that, I was talking about, we were having this conversation with a couple guys the other day, and in the past, and I know some guys use their trad bow, and I know a couple guys in the industry are using micro diameter off of their trad bow, and I guess with me, it's if it's not broke, don't fix it. And I've had maybe I just that traditional side of things, and using the PAs. And what was that? That's the 245 or 243.
243s, yeah.
Diameter on those, and I have just as much success with that arrow, and I'm getting really good penetration flight. The flight is beautiful, actually, and you sit back and you slow mo, and you want to see what it's doing, and it's great. Now with the micro diameter side, you got those 1/660s, and I mean, maybe there's a way, and I'm sure there are, but trying to get a finely tuned feathered arrow on that micro diameter, I mean, that could be a bit challenging, I think. I'm not sure. I've never tried it. I've seen other guys try it, but as far as veins on mains off trad bows. And I've heard guys doing it, but I've not tried it because it's not broke for me for what I'm using. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I know the Olympic recurve shooters, they all shoot the small diameters, the 166s. Now there's a group of guys out there now that are starting to use the 166s for hunting. Some of them you can get heavier than others. Now our 166s, we have the Revolution. It's more for the target side. We don't even have a component for screwing broadheads into it. Now there are some components that I'm working on right now with somebody to bring to the table for that arrow, because there's a lot of guys that are trying to run that 166 for hunting. To me, I mean, it's they're using 166s because they want the pass through. They think that the skinnier arrow is going to pass through better, it's going to fly better, and maybe that's the case with other brands, but I think with our technology and that we have inside and outside of that arrow, it really doesn't matter. I mean, what you can do with that Speed Freak is what these guys think they have to have, in the smaller diameter arrows to shoot the 166. We've got a good 204 also. We've got it's a nice heavy arrow for the guys that want heavy and a 204 diameter. That's our MT series. So our 166s were mainly designed for the target, but there's a few guys out there running. I think they put another brand of tip on there that seemed to work. So, but we are developing a component to carry broadheads on that arrow. We're just not there yet. We're still doing the game. Can't do it all at one time.
Well, right, and I guess that's my point too. I like to be the redheaded stepchild, so to speak, sometimes on what I do, because I'm not the type of guy that likes to keep up with the Joneses on, do I believe in needing 600 and 700 grains to kill an elk? No, I don't, because I'll take what I've always used around the 400 and, do what people's been doing for decades, right?
Right.
So,
well, I think with your track record and you killing animals, you're not keeping up with the Joneses. You are the Joneses.
Well, I appreciate that, but I mean, it's just one of those things is that I like to use what works, and I don't really stray away from what works with me, and even with aluminum arrows, I've always shot right around 400 grains. That's always been what I felt was what I use and my style or whatever, and what I brought to the table is like that. That's what works for me, So, I think a lot, it's always, you can always say, well, it's all about shot placement, and I agree with that, but it's all about shot placement when you're target shooting too. You're not going to win. You're not going to podium. So
there's a lot of variables.
No.
Right.
100%. And there's even more variables when you're hunting because, the release may feel great, the shot may look great, but you didn't see that twig. There's always going to be a time that you're either going to miss, you're going to have a bad shot, but you're always going to, hope if a bad shot does occur, you're going to have enough that you're going to get that animal anyway. So,
right.
As
high tech as these bows, as high tech as archery is today, it's still that primitive weapon. There's still that room for error, just as much now as there was back in the day.
I agree 100%. That's what I think a lot of people have a hard time conceptualizing is that it doesn't matter if you have an 800 grain arrow, the chances of you blowing through an elk shoulder blade, man, it's tough. I mean, I still would not feel comfortable shooting an elk in the shoulder. It's a massive animal, or moose. a bison, I still would not take that chance.
Right.
I would rather from my point of view, for me, I would rather take out its lungs and have that arrow get to my mark faster before he can move, because, it doesn't matter. The animal still has some pretty nasty reflexes. So my way of thinking is I want it to get to my mark the quickest way possible and let the shot do the damage. But some people
you're getting away from that shoulder. You're getting away from that shoulder. You're getting into the bigger section of the lungs anyway.
Yeah, 100%. And I don't think a lot of people realize just how big a set of elk lungs really are. It's like, well, if you've ever field dressed one, if you ever killed one, you'll soon find out how big their lungs are. And if you were to fully inflate one, it's like a 55-gallon drum lid. They're huge. So the guys that are out there trying to hard shoot them or trying to, get them in the shoulder, it's like, nah, man.
Stay away from that shoulder.
Yeah, stay away from the shoulder. It really doesn't matter. Any animal, just stay away from the shoulder.
I'll tell you.
One of the. Go ahead.
I was going to say, the front shoulder is definitely giving me some nightmares with the whitetail. I stay off. I stay off of those.
It's amazing how we gravitate towards that shoulder, trying to get that heart shot, isn't it?
Yeah, yep. And you don't unless you really understand the anatomy, you don't quite understand where exactly that shoulder's running, depending how where it's sitting, depending how that animal's standing.
Exactly. The other big thing that I've noticed has been kind of a trend lately in the last few years, probably more so in the last 5 or 6 years, is these guys are running these heavy FOCs up front. They want their front of center to be 18 to 23%, and I just I just shake my head, because the only thing that I can relate that to be efficient is they're just shooting a super, super stiff arrow. There's a couple brands out there that their arrows seem to run stiffer than normal, and it just seems like those guys are the ones that are running these heavy FOCs. They don't realize the more FOC they're running, they're breaking down that spine of that arrow. But I tell people it's not about having a heavy FOC, it's about having the right FOC. And
I agree.
With the combination of what you're shooting, if everything is spined correctly and you're using the right combination, it's all about the system, right? It's a system within a system. So if a lot of these guys are running these heavy FOCs because they want that arrow to fly better, and they think that the arrow is going to carry itself, pull it down range. I mean, it serves its purpose. It has its part, its function. But I think it's gotten a little carried away here in the last few years about running this heavy FOC.
And
that's
for those of us,
arose.
So for those of us who are not as knowledgeable, you want to explain kind of a little bit what you're talking about there?
Okay, so a lot of guys are running. They'll run heavy inserts up front. They'll run a heavier broadhead, and they'll try and get. And I see this a lot in target as well. And matter of fact, I'll just explain it via the target scene. We're a hunting podcast, but it all relates.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, right. I mean, shooting. It doesn't matter what the spot we're hitting. But what these guys are doing is they're running, 250, 300 to 300 grains up front on their arrow, because they think that it's going to get that arrow to the spot. Well, a particular arrow, say like the 27 series, that arrow by nature is stiff anyway. I mean, some of them are like 100 spine. So I understand why they're running that heavy FOC. But when you talk and listen to them, they're right in a sense, but then at the same time, they're not understanding the reason behind it. They just think, more weight up front is going to be better. Right. And basically what they're doing is they're actually breaking down the spine of that arrow so it performs correctly. And that's the same way with your hunting arrow. I mean, that's why that's why the setup that you've been running, Shane, on your hunting setup, I mean, with that Speed Freak 300 that's why that arrow performs so well at 100, 125 yards with, going clean through animals, because it's the correct FOC. I think the more and more people hear that term, correct FOC versus heavy FOC, will be a lot better.
Oh, and I'm a firm believer, because I've seen it and witnessed it firsthand, is like each bow is going to shoot different. I mean, each brand is going to shoot a different FOC better than, X, Y, and Z. I've seen it differently. Like I've shot the same setup on one bow, and I had to tweak it a little bit to get it to shoot the way I wanted to. But that's just getting down to finely tuning and knowing your weapon. That's what it comes down to, is knowing what works with your style and your weapon of choice.
Yep.
So it's having the correct FOC, like you just said.
That's the key.
That's the key. I don't really get into it with guys all the time that say, you need this, you need that. And, well, I don't know. I mean,
yeah, everybody's system is going to be a little different just because of their draw length, draw weights, things like that. Their style of shooting. I mean, it's just, you just got to figure out what your FOC. The great thing about today's day and age, and I didn't have this growing up, is you had to go to a shop and talk to somebody. There's so much good information out there now, along with bad information. It just makes it easier. So a lot of these younger kids are coming up the ranks, and I'm seeing these young kids at these tournaments shooting, and I mean, they're shooting at the, they're starting to shoot at the level of guys like Dave Cousins. I mean, who's just one of the top shooters in the world. And it's amazing watching these young kids shoot. But again, they have the technology there. I mean, do you remember, speaking of technology, do you remember when bows broke 300 feet a second?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Carbon Extreme, the Jennings Carbon Extreme.
Yep.
And we thought that was never going to happen.
Yeah.
And now we've got bows that are shooting 360, 365.
Yeah.
It's just kind of interesting watching the technology just advance over time.
Oh, 100%. And I think if you use the right technology and understanding, what to use, I think, it will work just as well as guys trying to get really, I don't know, I guess for lack of better words, get really anal about having, they think they need to have the heaviest thing on the planet, because they want it to hit like a Mack truck. Well, I can understand that and I can appreciate that. But if I'm shooting at an elephant at 70 yards with a 800 grain arrow, then yeah, I'm pretty confident he's not going to get out of the way. But if I'm shooting at a whitetail at 50 yards with an 800 or 600 grain arrow, chances are I'm probably going to miss. You know what I mean? Because he's out of the way. So,
yeah, exactly. The reaction times.
Either that or you hit him real bad, and then that's even worse.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that analogy up, Shane, because you kind of keyed in on a point that a lot of people don't think about, and that's setting your setup based on the animal that you're hunting. If a guy's hunting, whitetail, speed is everything, right? Speed is a big factor. I wouldn't say everything. But if you're going to go to Africa and you're going to shoot these big game animals over there, you're not going to use your whitetail system over there. You're going to create a different system that suits what you're going after. And I think if more and more people understand that and just don't do a one size fits all, I think their success will go up exponentially. I don't hear anybody talking about that.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Of course, I mean, my setup, what I use with the 412, I would have no reservations of killing anything on North America with that, and I've only got a couple left to test that on, and it hasn't been tested only because I can't draw the tags. So, and I'm not
really?
rich enough to go out and buy the governor tag. So, if I ever get lucky enough, then I'll make that happen. But it's one of those things that you have to put in consideration what you're hunting too.
What you're hunting, yeah. If you're going to Africa, you're gonna shoot stuff a little bit different. That's why we developed that. That's why we developed that AK-250 at 15.5 grains per inch. I mean, you talk about a heavy arrow. That thing's a log, but it serves a purpose. We don't sell a ton of them, but the guys that do get them like them, because they need the weight. Because some of the countries you go to out of the country, there's a weight limit. There's a weight requirement. So you got to make sure you can hit that weight requirement.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think even in the States, there is something. I don't know if it's enforced. Kind of like with a lot of the the let-offs and things like that. But I think there's always something in play. But it's there. But if it's enforced or not, it's a different story. Because who's out in the field is going to have those scales? But you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think they realize now the technology's there, and you're trying to do your best to take that animal is I don't want to use the word ethically because you're killing an animal. I don't know if there's anything ethical about that, but you're killing an animal, and the whole goal is to get it done quickly, right? And responsibly, I think is probably the better word.
Well, right. Exactly.
What do you got planned for this year? What are you killing this year?
Well, and that brings me up to that one to get some of those AK series because we're heading down to Florida here and just a week and a half to try to do a little head shooting on a gator. So
do you have any right now, or do I need to send them to you?
Well, you're gonna have to send them to me. I don't have any of the AKs.
Send me your address. Send me your address because I'm leaving Sunday for Yankton. So I want to get them out before I leave. Yeah, so text me the address you want me to send them to.
Right on. We'll do that because, I have the PA for, the 560, but I did send you that video where we watched that arrow blow up on that gator skull.
Oh, I never saw that video. It didn't come through.
Oh, it didn't come through?
No, I meant to tell you. I forgot. Got busy.
I can send it to you. Right on. Well, I'll get that taken care of, but let's talk about, you come up from the target side of the thing. You got both parents were world champions, and from what I understand from you too, and our relationship is, a lot of these are founded for the target shooter and the accuracy. That's just the whole development behind this. And you have what I want people out there is shooting other arrows to give you a try, because I'm 100% sure their scores are going to go up. You have a couple guys that are shooting them in Idaho, and Adam's been doing. Let's bring him up. Adam's been doing a phenomenal job, and I know his score. I've been watching that kid. He's just growing every year, and I think he's going to be a force to reckon with.
He's a contender for sure.
He is a contender for sure. Whoever beats him, they have to be on their A game 100%. Or their double A game.
Right.
Because he's not going to, you're only going to beat him by an X. You're not going to beat him by a point. So,
I'll tell you what, that's what it's come down to these days too, is X's.
It is. And, but I know his scores increased, by at least 5 to 7 points. I think that's what he's told me. And I could stand corrected if it was, but last I talked to him before, when he did switch over, that's what he was getting. And that's a lot. Hey, that 5 or 7 points, you're not even in the top 20, so,
right.
With that. And that leads me to the contingency program that you have in place for the target shooters that, the guys that are podium, you're paying them.
Yeah, I can touch on it if you want me to.
Yeah, absolutely. That way, there's always skin in the game somewhere around, and a lot of guys need to either be aware of what they could potentially have, because of archery being, and it has been becoming especially with COVID. I hate to even bring this word up, but there's a lot more guys shooting, outdoors. That is, I can't wait to get back on the indoor side of things just to watch these guys again. But
right,
it's there, and just wanted to touch base on the program you have in place.
Well, we introduced our contingency program this year for 2021. We had a lot of guys in the last year or so say, "Hey, you're going to have a contingency program. You're going to have a contingency program." Yes, eventually. We just weren't there yet. We weren't ready yet. And sometimes people put the cart before the horse, but we decided to get real aggressive on our contingency program for not only the NFAA classes, but also the ASA. And like ASA, there's a lot of different classes. But if you look, and what I'll do is I'll kind of just break it down real quick. So for like ASA, your open pro class is the top men's class. Our first place is $1,000. $750 for second, $500 for third. Now, most of the aero companies, their first place is going to be right around our third place. So we're basically doubling what most all the other aero companies are. We're kind of the most aggressive right now, and even on our regular amateur class, because we have a lot of amateur payouts as well. Say like our men's open 40, it's $150 for first place. Most of them are going to be anywhere from 75, usually it's 75, 50, and 25. 50 is our third place win. So you can kind of see we're really, really getting behind what we believe we have, and we're willing to pay for it. Now, Vegas, that's the big one. That's the Daytona 500 of the archery scene, indoor scene. And unfortunately this year again, and the big C kind of changed things up a little bit. They are going to have it, but it's going to be limited, and it's only going to be limited to the pros down there this year, which there's no reason for us as a vendor to go down there. Because our thing is, getting the novice and the beginners and the amateurs. So, but if you're shooting our arrow and you win Vegas in the men's freestyle championship, we're cutting a check to you for $10,000. Nobody's ever done that. Not in the arrow business. Usually it's, maybe 2,500. But for us to put out a $10,000 check, might want to what?
I said I might want to hop on the bandwagon and get my target bow back out.
There you go. Get yourself an extra $10,000, huh?
Yeah, I'm too out of practice.
Yeah, and even for the women, the freestyle women, we're offering $5,000 at Vegas. Now that's just Vegas. Vegas, like I said, is the Daytona 500 of the industry. So, but just the regular, like the First Dakota Classic and the indoor nationals and stuff like that, the top prize is $1,000. So we're still, again, we're double what, our competitors, meaning aero brands, are doing. So we're aggressive this year. We've been to 2 tournaments already, and we've podiumed twice. And one kid took second in in amateur division in Yankton a couple weeks ago. And then we had another kid, like I was telling you, that were about his points going up. He took third. So both of them went home with a check. And, it was pretty exciting for us to want to write that check because, we know what we have and we're excited about getting that out to people because nothing speaks to anybody better than money.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
That's what it takes these days, isn't it?
Yeah. But we're not, I don't want to buy them. I want them to earn it and then reward them for it. You know what I mean? It's kind of I think it goes further that way. I appreciate it more.
Oh, 100%. I agree. It's kind of a whole learning curve with the kid, bringing him up. I understand that 100% for sure.
Oh yeah. That's our contingency in a nutshell. We just got real aggressive this year with it. And, of course I don't have a big pro. I thought we were going to have one, and I don't have a big pro shooting our arrow in Vegas this year. At least they haven't told me they are.
that could change. We're still pretty hopeful. That could change,
yeah. Yeah, no, I to be honest with you, I would look forward to writing that check just because we know what will follow with that. You know what I mean? That's
100%.
Yeah, that puts you at the top pretty quick. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree 100%. Well, no, all it is, and I think it comes down to this closing statement for everybody is why use Aerotech?
It's the next level of technology. It's the next advancement. Like we said about cams on bows, we've seen that thing evolve. It's part of the evolution. And the evolution chain in the arrow business hasn't changed in 20 years. And so we just know that this technology is going to take it to the next level. So if you try it, you will not be disappointed. That I can promise you. I can honestly say in 3 years of really getting the brand out there and people shooting, nobody's come back to me and said, "Oh, your arrows are crap. They don't shoot." I haven't had one do that yet. Not one. Now I've had guys leave, the shooting staff because of stupid politics, things like that. But that's a different story. But as far as performance goes, there's been nobody that can come back and say that it has not improved their shooting. Not one in 3 years. And that's pretty impressive to me.
Oh, heck yeah, it is, man. That's what it's all about right there is for me as a hunter, for a guy's target shooting, it comes right down to the shot and knowing the confidence that you'll have in that. And then knowing the confidence of the product that you're using is going to perform as well as you can. And sometimes outperform you. Because the technology is there, it's been 9 times out of 10, it's never the bow or it's never the arrow. It's never the product. It's human arrow. It's
always the arrow.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's always the arrow. Yeah, 100%. Well, I'm living proof that I've not had that, and I've taken, it's 3 years that I've used your product. And, I've taken well over 100 animals with your product, and
Is that what you're up to now? Wow.
With your product, with your arrows, yeah. 33 animals this past year, and 28 and 30. So it's close to 100. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's impressive.
Well, it's one of those things. Is I'm paid to kill. I ain't paid to mess around.
And the last thing you want to worry about is your equipment and your arrows. You want to just not even think. You don't want to even think about it. You want to just execute the shot and think about the shot. Everything else needs to just fall right in line.
Yeah. And I agree with that. And that's the thing the point we want to get across to everyone that's out there listening is, what do you have to lose? Nothing, because if you're going to buy, I'm a firm believer in this. If you're going to go out and buy, a $3,000 Christensen Arms rifle,
you better be prepared to spend just as good as optics to put on that gun, because I don't think people really realize the commodities that you need in the performance. So yeah, anybody can go out here and buy just run the mill stuff, but the chances of you missing the shot, or the chances of you not performing as well as you possibly could because you didn't have the right product, or it could fail.
Well, it's the same with bullets. You guys buy this $3,000 gun, and then they'll go buy a $20 box of bullets, thinking that it's going to perform like a $3,000 gun. It just that doesn't work.
We're not.
That's the same way with the archery as well.
You're not understanding, your grain weights and your, how that's going to change your shot point of impact. Same thing with the arrows.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Again, it's a system within the system, right?
Yeah, and the $20 exactly. The $20 box of shells are made for one thing. That's plinking. Not
right.
Precision.
Yeah. I kind of chuckle when I see guys go out and they'll buy the top end Matthews or Hoyt or Bowtech or PSE or Bear or whatever. They go out and buy the top of the line stuff, and then they buy a cheap arrow. And I
Walmart. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go to Walmart.
I just shake my head. Yeah.
Well, I'm not. No, we're not saying that it won't kill, but what?
No, I'm not saying that at all.
Everybody will agree is you're taking a chance of, if you're serious about it, you should be serious about everything you do, and that animal that you're hunting, you owe it a quick death. There's as much as possible.
Oh, absolutely. I'll tell you what, I'm getting back out there this year. My shoulder injury is like 99% back to normal, and I've been shooting a little bit, and it feels good because I've been down for 20 months. I missed all of last season. First time in 35 years I've missed a hunting season.
Holy cow! You're not getting any younger, man.
Tell me about it. Took me longer to recover from this shoulder injury, but I'm back in the saddle again. So I've got some tags I'm putting in for this year, and we'll see where it goes. But man, it's feel good to start shooting again. That's for sure.
Well, heck yeah. We're looking forward to it, Robert. And I know Ethan's got some of your product there now. I've been shooting it. Boy, we're pounding the ground, getting the word out there, and let everybody know where we can find Aerotech.
So it's easy. Just go to aerotecarchery.com. Pretty simple. And as we grow, we're entering into pro shops right now. I think we have 9 listed right now across the country. So we're not in a lot of shops yet. We're working on that. We're interviewing some groups right now to help us with that. And we're going to get into the shops. It's just going to take a little time. And I know once we get in there and the guys start shooting them, they'll really like it and stand behind it. So, but it's easy. Just aerotecarchery.com. You can order directly on the site. And here, let me do something here for you. So any of the followers or any of your followers that want to get in there and try the arrows, let me see if I've got. Let's see here. What do you say we give them a 10% discount, Shane? Anybody that wants to go on there?
Yeah. Well, we got that place, don't it? Isn't it BM10?
It's ready to go. BM20.
BM20.
Yeah. Because we launched that in 2020. So it's BM20. It stands for Bone Maniacs. And if you guys log on and order through Bone Maniacs, we'll give you 10% off on your order. So.
Oh, awesome.
Cool.
That sounds great. That's pretty generous of you, Robert. And I know you and I have some signature series. We're going to work out the details and get ready to rock and roll real soon.
I was going to ask you if you wanted to talk about that.
Yeah, well, we're just going to break the ice a little bit before we leave. But we do have a signature series that we're going to be coming out with, and I hope everybody's excited about it. I've been shooting it.
But between myself, Aerotech, and Bowie and Archery, we got some big plans for 2021, and we're going to continue to make this home and keep rocking and rolling for sure. And you can also find out Aerotech over on Instagram and Facebook. You guys slip on over and give them a follow. You're going to be able to see some of the top shooters start coming on board. I know one to watch out for, as we're always on watching him, is Adam George. I want to give him a shout out because he's been doing an outstanding job for you at Aerotech, Robert. And I'm going to be departing here and making my way down to Florida to find me some gator. I'm going to make a new set of gator boots.
You might have to just you might have to overnight me some steaks. I got to try that.
We're going to bring it back.
Well, send me that address and I'll get those arrows out to you.
Sounds great, my friend. Well, Robert, great having you on. Ethan, back to work.
Hey, that sounds good.
All right. Thanks, Shane. I appreciate it. That was fun.
Thanks,
All
Robert.
right, you bet, guys. Take care.
Hey guys, you can find us over on social media, on IG, on Bone Maniacs. You can find us on Facebook, Bone Maniacs, bonemaniacs.com, and over on Waypoint TV and Taking Aim on Tuesday nights from 8 to 11.